Hello everybody, welcome to the TTVJ Audio YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about one of our all-time favorite products, the Esoteric E-02 Phono Stage. So for many years we have put vinyl listening in the hands of an Esoteric Phono Stage in our big rig. We started with the E-03 and we loved it very much. It served us well until the new E-02 model was introduced in 2017. So this is not a new product, but it's one that hasn't been beaten out yet. We switched to the E-02 and have not looked back. It is still one of our favorite phono stages and is very versatile with both MM and MC cartridges. The Esoteric E-02 was designed and is built in Japan by Esoteric. Fully balanced, the E-02 offers cartridge setup adjustments and sonics that make it one of the finest phono stages available. Choice parts and components are used to make this a premier piece. A phono stage must take the tiniest signal and amplify that signal into a line level signal for a preamp to use. This amplification takes a 1 to 5 millivolt input signal and cranks out a 1 to 2 volt signal. This is the largest gain section in your whole system, and it is critical that no noise or distortion be introduced or it will ruin the listening experience. Excellence in design and implementation is critical for a high-end phono stage to do what is required of it, and that is exactly what Esoteric delivers with the E-02. The E-02 has 72 dB of gain using the XLR input and output and 66 dB gain via the RCA input and output for MC cartridges. The MM cartridges get a gain of 40 dB through the RCA input-output via the second set of RCA inputs on the E-02. The E-02 is capable of having a 2-turntable setup connected to it or 2 tone arm turntable configuration input into the available RCA and XLR inputs. The E-02 has a plus-minus deviation from the RIA curve of 0.2 dB between 10 and 20 kHz. It also has an astonishing 0.007 harmonic distortion rate at 1 kHz MM rated output. Channel separation is less than minus 97 dB MM in the 10 kHz at 10 kHz. These measurements are excellent, and you can hear how good this phono cartridge really is. Looking at the front panel of the E-02 from left to right, we start with the power on-off button and the input selector knob. Your choices for inputs are input 1 RCA, input 2 RCA, or XLR. Input 1 is specifically dedicated for MC cartridges, and input 2 allows for either MM or MC cartridges to be input. The XLR inputs are dedicated for MC cartridges only. Sorry, no MM on the XLR inputs. Next on the front panel are the DMAG, subsonic filter, and mono buttons. Using the DMAG is as easy as playing a record with your MC cartridge for 30 seconds with the DMAG button on, and that will remove all unwanted magnetization from your cartridge coils or from your step-up transformer. The subsonic filter cuts off at 17 Hz with a slope of -6 dB per octave. This can be used with warped records to stop unwanted woofer movement. You know, the won't, won't thing, that gets rid of it. The mono switch is used when you're using a mono cartridge in your setup.
Like God intended.
Yes, like God intended. The next selector knob, no it's not. God has 2 ears. The next selector knob allows for impedance selection between 10 ohms and 10k ohms for MC cartridges and the typical 47k ohm setting for MM cartridges. The options for impedance settings for MC cartridges are 10, 50, 100, 200, 300, 500, 1k, and 10k ohms. Many MC cartridge manufacturers recommend an impedance setting for their cartridge. We have found their recommendations to be a good place to start, but we have on occasion decided on a different setting for our own ears and in the setup that we're using the E-02 on. It is worth experimenting to find the sound that suits your taste using the various input impedance selections. If you like to use a step-up transformer, the 47K ohm mm cartridge setting is what you will use for the input. If you're using an MC cartridge, the maximum input for an MC cartridge is 4.8 millivolts and 100 millivolts from an MM cartridge. The E-02 weighs in at about 28 pounds and measures 17 5/8 inches across by 5 1/4 inches tall by 14 7/8 inches deep. That covers the front panel. Now onto the rear panel, which offers all the connectivity. We will walk through from left to right. The first inputs are the XLR inputs made for MC cartridges only. Next is the second pair of RCA inputs that can be used for either MC or MM cartridges. This is where you would plug in your step-up transformer or your MM cartridge. The next set of RCA inputs is input 1, and it also is for MC cartridges only. The signal ground is next and connects your ground wire from the turntable. We have had many turntables that did not require this ground connection to be made. We thought things sounded better when it was not necessary and not used. Next come the outputs, starting with the RCA single-ended output, which is the most commonly used. Next are the XLR outputs that give you more gain if the XLR inputs are used in conjunction with them. You still get 66 dB of gain if you use the RCA inputs and the XLR outputs, but with the XLR inputs the gain jumps 6 dB to 72 dB. These XLR outputs can also be used with the Esoteric ESL-A, which is a proprietary connection system used to connect other esoteric pieces. This virtually eliminates any impedance or resistance in the signal path, potentially raising the current with the preamp signal path by up to 100 times. Then there is also Esoteric's build quality and attention to detail. The enclosure is beautiful and designed to dissipate vibration. It is built with very heavy, rigid aluminum. Esoteric's own pinpoint feet further minimize the damage of vibration effects in the E-02. This contributes much to the purity of the sound that you hear. The E-02 has caught and held our ears since we first brought it in for a demo when it was introduced and available in the US. The first thing that was evident to the ear was that it is dead quiet with no superficial or amplifier noise. This makes for a pure musical listening experience. The music is painted on a black background, allowing the music to flow out naturally and musically. This makes for exceptional detail and resolution. The sound is natural, realistic, and dynamic. The energy of the music comes to life effortlessly. You will hear just what the cartridge extracts from the grooves of the record. The E-02 does not color the sound, nor does it tip the bass or treble, or for that matter the mids up or down. It is very neutral and remains true to the signal put into it. Another great thing the E-02 presents is a real and solid soundstage. It has depth and width that matches what the recording makes available. It does not artificially create a soundstage, making it larger or smaller than what the sound engineer was able to capture and create for the pressing. Instrument separation is amazing. Vocals, both male and female, are reproduced with great accuracy, giving the listener the feeling they are in the room personally singing to you. Each instrument has its position within the sound field, making it easy to identify where each instrument was placed. Of course, with excellent recordings, a good turntable and cartridge combo, you will get the best sound possible with the E-02. With poor recordings, the flaws are revealed, and at times it can kind of become irritating to listen to, but the blame lies with the recording and not the E-02. I have spent thousands of hours listening to my vinyl with the E-02 as my phono stage and consider it to be an integral part of my rig. I would not want to be without it, that is for sure. I can find no flaws in the E-02 and consider it one of the essential pieces to my vinyl rig. So the E-02 gets our highest recommendation as well as a place in our personal listening system, and that is about as good a recommendation as we can give. Thank you for listening, and if you have any interest in the Esoteric E-02, please feel free to give us a call. You can also check out the information on our website. It is a fantastic piece and one that we highly recommend. Thank you for watching.